It is indeed an honor, Bazalwane, to come and share with you on this very complex topic. It's complex because in itself, it's two topics. So I had to sit for days thinking, how am I going to phrase this so that I can be able to do this in 40 minutes and be able to touch on both elements as though it was one thing. So my topic is personal branding elements for effectiveness in leadership. Personal branding elements for effectiveness in leadership. For our introduction, I think it's very much important for us to understand that leadership is under scrutiny worldwide. There is spotlight on leadership, whether it's political leadership, religious leadership, whatever type of leadership we're talking about, leadership is on the spotlight. Those who are called or appointed or elected to lead, they continuously face challenges at both micro and macro level. At macro level, there are VUCA realities. Now, that word or that phrase, VUCA, it's an acronym. It stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. That is the type of world that we live in today. Those who study economics, they understand it well and how it fits into the broader scheme of things. Now, in the VUCA realities that we live in, we've got phenomenons like the Russia-Ukraine war, we've got the post-COVID pandemic, we've got the fourth industrial revolution, we've got the de-dollarization by the BRICS countries, we've got the gold mafia, we've got so many other things, and recently we've got 5 guys who decided to go and visit the Titanic and never came back. So those are the VUCA realities that are there in the world. And everyone who is in leadership, it's important for you to familiarize yourself with what's happening globally so that you can know how to deal with things locally. Now, ma'am, or for the VUCA, it's volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Then at micro level, leaders must contend with daily challenges that are affecting their organizations or their businesses or their communities, even their families, because there are those who lead only at family level. They do not have corporate leadership responsibilities or business leadership responsibilities, but they are leaders in the home. And the same challenges of leaders are affecting everybody who leads, regardless of the level where you are at. And some of the challenges that they are faced with, or the realities that they are faced with at micro level of leadership, is at both executive and operational level, where you have to deal with issues of ethics, with issues of governance, with issues of compliance, with issues of delivery, and many other issues of saying, how do I as a leader take my organization forward? How do I as a leader take the people that I am leading forward? Effectiveness, therefore, in leadership should not only be a skill for the few MBAs, but a trait that each leader must have. That is why here we are discussing leadership effectiveness, but within the ambit of personal branding. Now, before we can understand how to appropriate personal branding, it's very much important for you to understand that leadership theories are not the same. People lead differently at different levels with different styles of leadership. So if you are going to be building your brand as a leader, you build it from a theory that backs you up as a leader. Or you build from a particular style of leadership that you have or that which you use. I'm just going to list them. We've got transformational leadership, servant leadership, transitional leadership, situational leadership, democratic leadership, authentic leadership, autocratic leadership, authoritarian leadership, crisis leadership, collaborative leadership. You've got traditional leadership, you've got business leadership, you've got spiritual leadership, you've got Christian leadership. I mean, you've got all sorts of leadership theories that people adhere to and work with. And it's very much important for us to understand this so that whenever you are developing your personal brand, you first understand what is a leadership theory that you believe in or that you work with. Well, today we don't have enough time. As the Apostle Zoe would say when he's teaching, he'd say, I can teach this for 10 years. So even myself, I could teach just those things for the next 10 years. You can tell him that I quoted him. It's okay. Now, I want us to define what personal branding is. But maybe before we define it, I'm hoping the camera will follow me. Maybe let's just get one person this side and one person this side who will say, this is personal branding. Can you have somebody? You can lift up your hand. Who wants to talk? Okay, if nobody wants to talk, I normally volunteer people, so I don't have a problem. So, yeah, my brother, what is personal branding?
I think it's an image that you portray of yourself.
The image you portray of yourself. Thank you very much. Please, let's clap for him. Thank you, sir. Ngapa, Mama?
How you label yourself by just walking, talking, dressing. You're a brand. Brand nje. Ngibhekile. Ngingakasho nix nje ngibrand.
Uvuka nje uyibrand. Hayi man, mshayele izandla. Now, I've got 3 definitions that I'm going to give to you, which are scholarly definitions. The first one is personal branding entails capturing and promoting an individual strengths and uniqueness to a target audience. Now, the key thing here is your target audience. Now, when you are branding yourself, you've got your target audience in mind. So when you capture your strengths and your uniqueness of your brand, you're doing it because of a particular target audience. Sometimes when I talk to entrepreneurs and I say, okay, who are you selling to? Mina baba yazi noma ubani, mina ngiright. Mina noma ubani angathenga kimi. It's okay, but lento ofuna ukuyicreate kahle kahle ufuna ukudla bani? Which part of the market do you want a share from? Mina baba yazini. Mina ngikhethi man, yes. Mina ngihustler man, yes. Ngibambela. But personal branding says, no, you can't do that. Personal branding says you need to have a target audience. There has to be certain people you are speaking to. There has to be certain people who wants to hear your message. And you are targeting your message to those people. So you capture your strengths and your uniqueness to those people. The second one is how one talks. I think it goes with what Mama has just said. When she was talking and I was saying to myself, did she see my notes? How one talks, what dresses, where eating and living, each aspect contributes to the image that others have about the person. Well, man, niyazibona mos lezayibongo ne? Lezayibongo zisho ukuthi those people are not English speaking. So you can be sure nalento abayibhalela phaya. Right. But I think this is what they're trying to say. Personal branding is the way you talk, a particular way you dress, where you choose to eat, and where you choose to stay. That makes your brand. Okay. As we were talking, we're talking about luxury brands. Ukuthi there are certain things that only certain people buy. Why? Because they can afford those things. But they can afford them because it speaks to their lifestyle. So they are into what we call luxury brands. They don't just buy. They don't just go. They go where it matters for the brand. They speak to who it matters for the brand. Somebody was inviting me to a particular place and for me to come and speak. You know, sometimes these things may sound like you are proud, but no, I want to justify why I'm saying this. So I was supposed to speak at that place and all that. And this person, but also wanted me to come with session teaser to come and do something. Then I said to this person, no, I can't. I'm not a fan. I'm a brand. Why? My brand matters. When you are building a brand, you become very particular. Yeah, but it's not like, yeah, I know good sometimes in pride in corner that you need to guard against. But what you are trying to say is that I can't be appearing everywhere. I can't be seen everywhere. I can't be on every social media platform. I have to be in places and spaces where my brand speaks and my brand is listened to. Whenever you listen to Miss Aya speak about the whole woman brand, she will tell you that there is a particular caliber of speakers. There are so many people who call her all the time to say, can I speak? And not to say she doesn't want them to speak, but the brand doesn't allow her to allow them to speak. Why? There is a particular caliber of people that needs to speak because of the type of brand that she is building. The third one, a personal brand is a response to a series of questions. Who are you? That is why we had that exercise, speed dating exercise. It's connected to what we are doing today. Who are you? What do you do? What makes you different? How do you create value for your target market? Those are the kind of questions that you must ask yourself when you are building a personal brand. Now, let's go to leadership effectiveness. When we talk about leadership effectiveness, we say to be effective, leaders must be able to motivate and direct followers towards group or organizational goals, mission or vision, and be able to maintain stability and group harmony even when acting as agents of change. Now, this actually means when we're talking about a leader that is effective, it is a leader that is taking people somewhere. And people will always follow somebody who is taking them somewhere. Sadly, they will follow you to hell if you're taking them to hell. That is why people are in cults today. Why? Because they have found somebody who has a vision to take them somewhere. That is why it's very much important when you're building a personal brand, you are able to look at your vision and say, where is this vision taking me? And where is this vision taking those that I lead? I won't say more. You will make your own decision. So, leadership effectiveness has everything to do with leaders that are able to motivate people and direct followers towards a particular action. Towards a particular action. It took vision for Mfundisi Khoza to settle here. I think, if I remember well, this place used to be an auto dealer. Yeah. And today it's a church. He had a vision, communicated the vision, the church bought the vision, and they saw him lead on the vision, and the church followed. Today we have this structure as a church. So when we're talking about leadership effectiveness, we're talking about somebody who is taking people somewhere. An effective leader, I'm just going to list them here, then I'll put them on the board. An effective leader is proactive, adaptable, good communicator, respectful, confident, enthusiastic, open-minded, resourceful, rewarding, well-educated, open to change, interested in feedback, evaluative, organized, consistent, and is a delegator. Now, let me just mention a few things, Bazalwan. Whenever we're saying is well-educated, I'm not talking degrees, ne? Yeah, so that ngathi manje thina singafundanga, what must happen ngathi? Should iphelile vele indaba yethu? No. When I'm talking about someone who's well-educated, this is somebody who's interested in understanding the environment akuyo. This is the person who studies their environment, studies people, studies how things work. And in most cases, you don't necessarily need to go to school for that. Even though school opens you, it opens your mind to be able to start being aware of what's happening out there. So when I'm talking about well-educated, I just needed to clarify that. So an effective leader is somebody who has these characteristics and more. Now, you can't build a personal brand as a leader if feedback is your problem. If you don't like feedback, then you can't build a personal brand. Because that particular personal brand, you will be building for people abangabo yes say, yes ma'am, yes say, yes ma'am. Noma so are wrong, they will agree with you because that's what you want, that's what tickles you as a leader. But a leader who is building a strong personal brand is not afraid to hear colleagues and people he works or she works with tell him straight to say, I know. As strategic as you are, as operational as you are, as process-driven as you are, as results-driven as you are, if you do not like feedback, you cannot make it in building a personal brand. Because personal brands are relatable. Personal brands are the kind of things where people are able to relate with you, and in relating with you, they are able to speak their minds into what you are building. As a matter of fact, when people are following you, or when there is a team that you are working with, you have a team because you are actually saying, I am insufficient. I need a team because I am not enough by myself. Therefore, I need a team. That is why we've got teams. If you are a person who can do it by yourself, then you don't need a team. But once you bring a team alongside you, then you are actually saying there are things that I can't do that you can do, and there are things you can do even better than me. I will pass. It's a whole lot of them. It will take us 10 years, as you know. I found this graphic, and I thought let me include it here because it speaks to what we're talking about. There are people who are not necessarily efficient or effective, but they're efficient. We're talking about efficacy. When we're talking about efficacy, these are the people who says, I can do it right. These are ethical people. So these are the people who are building brands based on ethics. They are known for doing things right. Ngeke umpray phelo. Lona ngeke uthi sihambe siyophuza ikhofi naye. Ngoba siyazi ukuthi kulelo coffee kune brown envelope under the table. No, this one I can do it right kind of person. Then there are people who are efficient. When we talk about efficiency, is the person who says, I can do it quickly and economically. These are technological people, innovative people, disruptive people. Abo Mark Zuckerberg lab. Abo Elon Musk lab. These are the people who are efficient. Something must be done quickly, but also it must be done economically. And you need all these people when you are building your brand around you. You need all these people. Then you've got those who are effective. I can do it well. These are effective leaders. So you've got people who borders on efficacy, efficiency, and effectiveness. John Maxwell says, people buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. People buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. Then you've got Theodore Roosevelt, who said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. In other words, you can be as skilled as more than anybody else in the room. You can be the wisest. But if you do not show people that you care, people will not care much that you know. Maybe they will follow you for a while because of your knowledge. But if they see that you don't care, people are going to drop back. Maya Angelou says, I have learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. Now, what does this mean for personal branding? What does these quotes mean for personal branding? It means personal branding humanizes leadership. It humanizes leadership. Personal branding. Personal branding is the very art of leadership. Because why? People follow people. As a matter of fact, people are going to follow you whether you are intentional about them following or not, if you are a leader. So you might as well be intentional about them following you, be intentional about where you are taking them. So people are looking for leaders that are going to show them ubuntu, being human and being humane. I think there's a verse in the Bible, it was Jesus who said, the people of the world, those who are rulers in the world, he uses the word, they lord it over God's people. In other words, they show their muscles. You know, I always observe Umfundisi Khoza uthanda lesikhwama sakhe lesi. And once aphethe lesikhwama, anganyamalala manje nithi beka la sekahambile. Once yabona, for those abakhonza eKatlehong, church babu church eKatlehong, when he comes aphethe lesikhwama, forget ukuthi uzomthola after the service. He just goes. Why am I using this example? I'm trying to say, Pastor Khoza, he is so much of a human being. He doesn't need to go to makangene endaweni. Everybody kumele aqhaqhazele. You know, we all bow down. You know those churches where when a man of God or a woman of God comes down, everybody prostrates, like literally. You know, people start speaking in tongues and all those things. Pastor Khoza, until he says, I am Pastor Khoza, you will think, it's just elinye njijite esikhonza nalo la enkonzweni. Make your brand to be relatable ukuze abantu bazokwazi ngesizulu bazokwazi ukukudla. Make it relatable. Because personal branding, it makes leadership to be humanized. Because people are afraid of leaders. Yeah, people are afraid of leaders. Ukwabona abogogo. Abogogo mawuyomvakashela umfundisi. Yes. Kungena incegu. Ngivele ngiphelelwe iplan ke manje Nkosi yami. Sekufanele ngithini manje, how am I supposed to relate nogogo? Because I'm coming as umzukulu la ekhaya. But nana nokuye kungena incegu. Omunye uze wathi angithola ngihleli lapha yana nomntanakhe sikhuluma. Uyangena. Bayang introduce ukuthi umfundisi Mfeka lo. And she says, no wonder ngizugqobo olungaka la endlini. I'm like, leso sikhathi I'm praying ukuthi Nkosi angathi ngithandaze. I don't feel like praying in this house. Personal branding humanizes leadership. personal branding is the very art of leadership. Now, let's look at the 5 attributes of personal branding for leadership, and we are now moving towards our discussion time. 5 attributes of personal personal branding for leadership effectiveness. Number 1 is authentic leadership. When we're talking about a leadership is authentic, or the brand of an effective leader is authentic leadership, we are talking about the fact that this is a leader that has a conviction and will stop at nothing to follow through with their conviction. Leaders that are not having a conviction will not take you far because somehow they don't believe in this thing that they're leading you on. So conviction is key for authenticity in leadership. And when we're talking about building a personal brand, you need to build a brand based on authenticity. And authenticity includes convictions because convictions lead to reliability. You can rely on someone who has a conviction. Because it doesn't matter what happens, that person is not going to be moved. Even if we can have a tremor that we had the other day. Did you have a tremor in Santin? Yo, eguruleni bekungasi tremor. Besitatazela ngabo 2 ekseni. Also on authentic leadership, there is integrity. Because integrity leads to credibility. So a leader that is building a personal brand is a leader that espouses integrity. What is integrity? Integrity is doing what you said you will do. Now, that word integrity, challenge because even when you are part of a mafia gang, if they had given you an assignment to go and kill somebody, and you said you will do it, and you don't do it, they say you don't have integrity. Because integrity, it's universal. But we, who are God's people, need to understand that we need to use integrity in the ways that would please God. So, an authentic leader who's building a brand understands that in order for them to be credible, something that is credible is something that has been tried and tested over time. So when you have integrity, you are a person, people know that, no, this one is not going to do that to what you said. That's why when people can come and say, so-and-so has done this. There are things, there are things when you find in the kitchen, when they get in the cheese, my wife and I will just know who did it. Because that particular child has been doing this again and again and again. And even when we call them, we'll start by calling this one that we know. She'll come and say, I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm sorry, Daddy. You're sorry for what? They know what they did. So integrity speaks to credibility. Still on authenticity is the word trustworthiness, which leads to brand loyalty. In order for a brand, for people to be loyal to the brand, you must be trustworthy about the brand. In other words, when you said, this is who I am as a brand, we must never meet you the following day being something else. I've been following social media until recently when my wife and I decided to delete this particular celebrity on our socials. We've been following Peltus. So Peltusi has been posting some pictures where she's almost not dressed. And people have been complaining, But I'm saying to myself, but this is who she is. She's been doing this For the longest of time. Probably now it's just that it looks like now she is in your face. But kahle kahle, this is who she is trustworthy to her brand. So are you trustworthy to your brand? Because for people to be, and believe me, because she's trustworthy to that brand, there is loyalty to the brand. She gets contract because she's trustworthy to her brand. She gets contracts. There are deals where she is endorsing certain products and businesses. Because of this brand, Yognaku. Once Wakoga, she loses the contract. You have one, trustworthiness speaks to authenticity. A brand to be regarded, to be given loyalty, it needs to be trustworthy. Number 2, another attribute is the attribute of self-presentation. Self-presentation. How do you present yourself as a brand? How do you present yourself as a brand? You need to manage how you present yourself to those you lead so that you can shape their impressions and influence their perceptions. That is through your speech, through your look, through your ideas. Now, there's Apostle Hoboko here. Ne? He's here or he's gone? He's here. I have never at any point seen Apostle Hoboko without a suit and a tie. Never. Never. Everywhere where I see him, whether it's on social media or it's live, J. I've never seen him in a jean and techies. I don't say he doesn't wear those. I have never. So to me, that is his brand. Must I say amen? So you need to manage the self-presentation. So we mustn't see you like this today, and tomorrow we see you like this. The thing is that when you are building a brand, you have to be consistent. You can't do one thing today and do a different thing tomorrow, where brand building is concerned. You have to be consistent. So the way you dress up, the way you speak, nje. So you need to manage self-presentation. If you're somebody who doesn't shave all the time, like Uteledi is not into shaving. And he's comfortable with that. I can pick up on him, Ubitsoam. And he's comfortable with that. I'm just picturing one day meeting him shaven. I'll be asking him, have you seen Sibusiso? Because I have not encountered him shaven. I'm not saying he doesn't shave. So you need to manage the self-presentation, because your management of your self-presentation, it shapes impression. It influences perception. How people will see you is based on how you present yourself. On self-presentation again, you need to convey and communicate your unique strengths, qualities, skills, expertise, and vision consistently. One of the questions that was asked during speed dating was, what are your skills? Over and above, what are you known for? What are your skills? So you communicate those to say, these are my skills, these are my strengths, this is my unique qualities. Self-presentation. It's very much important. Number 3, social identity. Build credible brand associations. Have you ever heard of the concept branding by association? Yeah. We are branded by our association. In Sakula, my parents would say, Angfunu hambe nalabafan. Because they understood branding by association, even though they never understood the concept. But I'm sure they knew something. Angifuni uhambe nalabafana. Ngoba uzozithola sewubhema insango, uzozithola se. There is power in branding by association. On the positive note, what branding by association does is that it's like when you are sitting on the shoulders of a giant. You get to be seen better and you get to see better. So when you are branding yourself by associating with certain people who are well branded in the area where you want your brand to grow yourself, then you stand on the shoulders of a giant. So where social identity is concerned, you need to build good associations. Because sometimes we will judge you based on who you associate with. Yeah. We will judge you based on that. We will make conclusions based on who we saw you with. You know, there are people that I took photos with, powerful people. I mean, took pictures with such people. And then later on, some skurugutu stories came out to say, yay, lo, when's I saw. I mean, I had to take down those pictures. Ngifuna nokhala ukuthi unkosi. Hey kodwa. Mara nawe wayibe wenza so man. But because I'm concerned about my brand, I have to find a way of detaching myself from these associations, even though they are as powerful as they are. Because as powerful as they are, currently, they are a danger to my brand. So, some of the people you associate with, maybe you need to go back and say, check in your phone and say, ngiyamdinga marlo. Longa tuninki. Lona njalo mageza kimi uyahleba. No. Ungifakela umoya ongasi right. You delete. You block. You delete. Build credible brand associations. Still on social identity, you align yourself to social media platforms that communicate your values and aspirations to your followers. I know people will say, I'm on every social media platform. Maybe that is good for your brand. Probably the people your brand is speaking to are in all of them. But in most cases, you have to choose the kind of social media platforms that speaks to who you are speaking to, so that you can communicate your values to those that you are targeting. So if you're in business, I would expect you, also depending on the kind of business you are in, but if you're an executive, I would expect you to be on LinkedIn. Because that's where executives are. That's where serious CEOs and business people are. But if you are into having fun and being a socialite and being a slayer and being, I would expect you to be on Instagram because that's where they slay. I would expect you to be on Instagram. But the thing is that wherever you are, you must make sure that the content is so good that when people see you, they would want to connect with you. So even when you post, don't just post. If you know very well that your phone is not good with pictures, don't take chances, Social media can be brutal. Social media can be brutal. People say, no, you must have Twitter. If you're a socialite, you must be on Twitter. No, not every socialite is on Twitter. Hey, they call them the Twitter streets. People will mess you up on Twitter. They will butcher your reputation on Twitter. So it's very much important that you choose where you want your brand to be seen because of the message that you have, and that message, does it speak to those people? I hope I'm still fine on time. Then the last one on this point, be relatable. I think I've mentioned this before. Be relatable. Be the kind of person that people can find it easy to come speak to. Not people who will have to prostrate every time when they see you. People will now start trying to find English and not know where to go and find that English. They don't even have data for English just because when you Englishize, be relatable. Be relatable. The fourth one, it's image management. Make a conscious effort to shape and control how others perceive you. You need to own the narrative of your brand. In other words, just because you're building a brand, you don't just allow anybody to control how your brand is supposed to be communicated. Well, you can speak to experts. The lady who was interviewing the panelist in the morning, she's a brand specialist. Such people that you can speak to advise you. But even though you've got people who are brand specialists who are helping you how to position your brand, you still need to make sure that you own the narrative of your brand. You don't give your brand to the public to own it. Because once you do that, you can lose even credibility. Because people can start saying things about you, even things that are not there. Izinto abazizwe ngosibanibani ethi ngawe when they are not true. So own the narrative of your brand. Also consider that first impressions last. Yeah, this is a true statement. First impressions always last. People will judge you based on how you treated them the very first time they met you. And they may not forgive you, even though you may have decided to do right. Build a solid brand reputation. Now, the issue of brand reputation, in most cases, we do public relations on our brands whenever something has gone wrong. That is when we try now to fix, we try to go and talk to so-and-so, to try and clean up this and that and that. Solimweng, who is a brand reputation specialist, he's based in Switzerland, he's a South African based in Switzerland. He says brand reputation management, it's 80% proactive and 20% reactive. 80% you are proactive. In other words, you don't wait until something goes wrong. You are always at the cutting edge of things happening in as far as your brand is concerned, so that should anything go wrong, already you are ahead of things in dealing with that particular thing that could go wrong. So you're always thinking, what could go wrong? What could go wrong? So 80% you are proactive, and 20% you are now fixing the problems. So when we do public relations, it's not only because now there is a scandal in the ministry or there is a scandal in the business or something has gone wrong, so-and-so has gone into a relationship with the person they're not supposed to relate with, and all those things, and now we are trying to fix, to say, okay, let's go into your social media and see what we can delete and all those things. At that time, it's possibly too late, your brand is tarnished. But if you can be proactive to say, I will make sure that there is nothing in my social media that will compromise me. So if there are certain things that you might have said about your boss in the past, go back and fix. Go back and check your social media and say, what could I have said about? Because sometimes yeah. Maybe your boss has made you angry. Maybe sometimes Pastor Kosa was preaching and he said something, by the leading of the Spirit, he said something that you think, then you go to social media. I see today the Spirit was not there. When people were rolling on the floor, you were the only one. No, it's because of ease. Then you went to social media and you decided to fight back. Can I advise you? Go back and clean up your social media. There is a young girl who had entered Miss Teen South Africa. It's a white young girl. I think she was 16 at that time. And she had reached a point where people were voting for her. She was now becoming a favorite. until somebody discovered on her social media to say she had said some things about 5 or 6 years ago. She had said some things about the very pageant organizers, things that she's not supposed to say. And when they called her to the meeting and they showed her that, she was like, but this is 6 years ago. The issue is that it's there. So I advise you, just go and clean up. Even if it's people you don't work for or people you don't work with, don't bash other people on social media, because that will stay there 10 years to come. You will be knocking at their door wanting to pitch an idea, and they will love your idea. Just when they're just about to give you their yes, and somebody says, no, man, I went through her social media, man. She said something 10 years ago about our company. And the people who are making a decision were not even employed at that time. But because they work for that company and they need to protect the credibility of the company, they will now say, I am sorry, we can't give you. Because of something that you said, probably also commenting on somebody who had said something. So, manage your image and be proactive in managing your image. The last one is value proposition. Value proposition. You need to understand what makes you different from others and leverage from it. You know, there's a statement that was once said by T.D. Jakes. T.D. Jakes would say, you know, I have so many people who get invited to go and preach, and when they come and preach, and they try to be T.D. Jakes. And then he said, if people wanted T.D. Jakes, they would have invited me. When they invited you, they wanted you. Hey, that was a problem for preachers like us, because sometimes we can hoop, you know. Oh my God. We can hoop it. We can just hoop it. I mean, with the keyboard there, I'm telling you, you give me a mic, you give Malatsi a mic, we will take you to heaven and back, I'm telling you. Say amen, somebody. But T.D. Jakes would say, if they wanted Jakes, they would be having Jakes. You be you. Let me tell you, as a Christian, you are more anointed when you are you. You are more powerful when you are you. You are more efficient when you are you. And people want you. So your value proposition is you. Study your environment and your audience, those that you lead. If you are going to present a value proposition to say, this is who I am and this is what I can do for you, this is what I can do for you, can take you to the next level, you need to study your environment and study your audience. Ask yourself these questions. How do I define myself in one sentence? If I can ask you a question, I love the speed dating, because the speed dating was actually giving you a crash course on personal branding, if you realize that. How do you define yourself in one sentence? How do you define yourself without telling a whole lot of stories? If you go, there's this thing that we call the elevator pitch. When you go into an elevator with an influential person who might have an opportunity of a lifetime for you, how do you present yourself to that person in 1 minute before the lift goes ding? How do you do that? So it's very much important to ask yourself this question, to say, how do I define myself in one short sentence? That's your homework. Another question that you must ask yourself when you are presenting a value proposition is, what do I bring to the table and who is going to like it? In other words, as a personal brand, what product am I? Number two, if it says who is going to like it, in other words, who is going to be buying this? Who is going to be buying you as a personal brand? Who's going to be buying? Who's going to be buying? I'm sure when I was sitting with Pastor Koza during the Easter convention, after we had preached at that Saturday service. Ne? After we had preached at that Saturday service, we were sitting in the pastor's office and my God. I'm sure there is something that I said to him in not so many words that made him to say, Mfundisi Mfeka, what June man? Awukuvele ngapesentini. Because I don't remember us saying a lot on the subject of branding, but I'm sure there must be something that I said, or there is something that he observed that I'm consistent with, that he said, I need you to come and share at the leadership session during the convention. So, what is it that you are bringing to the table? So, when you're building a personal brand, you are actually saying, I am a product. So, what product are you? What are you bringing to the table? And who is ready to consume what you are bringing to the table? As I close, as a coach, I close once, but as a pastor, allow me to close many times. Now, as I close, Jeff Bezos of Amazon, he says, branding is what people say about you when you are not in the room. In other words, branding speaks for you even when you are not there. Branding is perpetually saying things about you when you are not there. The question is, what are they saying about you when you are not there? How effective is your leadership when you are not there? Do the attributes of leadership come forth and speak on your behalf when you are not there? What are people saying when you are not in the room? Thank you for listening.